This is one of those television tales that's been told time and time again. Guess what? It's our turn now. Welcome to the story of one of the most disappointing and, depending on who you ask, horrifying TV finales that ever was. It's the finale to the classic NBC 80s sitcom, ALF. ALF has garnered a lot of recent controversy, though to be fair, what from the 1980s and back hasn't these days? And this is in large part because of the creator and the main star, Paul Fusco. To put it simply, Paul Fusco was a little bit weird. That's the understatement of the millennium. And even though he was difficult to work with and probably just a wee bit insane, his show got screwed over by the network in a way that very few other shows have. So get ready as we take a look at Versus the Network number 204, what happens when the network goes back on their word. Yeah, that's not a good sign, is it? Throughout its 4-season run, ALF was a big hit. It had good ratings, a loyal fan base, and a lot of merchandise like ALF dolls and Pogs.
Remember ALF? He's back! In pod form.
Behind the scenes, the show was a wreck. That goes without saying. There's been a lot of other videos that have detailed what's gone on, so we're not going to do it here. But what we are going to talk about is what happened at the end. As time would go on, the show would start running out of ideas. Because of the nature of the show, ALF could never leave the house. He couldn't really meet any new people, he couldn't go on wild adventures, it was all just about ALF being snarky. With all that now being discussed, it was clear that ALF's time on the air was pretty much over. Fusco and the writing staff were running out of ideas, sure, but they still weren't entirely sure that they wanted the show to end. NBC still had the final say, and they hadn't really decided whether or not ALF was going to be renewed or cancelled. Still though, they couldn't rely purely on that, so they decided to write up one big series finale. The episode was called Consider Me Gone, and it would tie up all the loose ends of the show. Or so they thought. The episode has ALF being, who else but ALF, and then he gets a message from some of his friends that they found a brand new planet to colonize. So now ALF's gonna leave the Tanners, but uh-oh, he misses the ship. Well, that's not good. I guess they can come back for him, right? Nope, because the alien task force has finally caught ALF. And that's it. That's how it ends. He tries to make light of the situation, but ALF knows that this is probably the end. And wouldn't you know it was. So canonically, the show ends with ALF getting carried away to the government and getting dissected. Yeah, that's fun. Great. Fans were not happy with this at all. In fact, one of my personal reviewing inspirations, Rowdy C from TV Trash, has personally said that this is his least favorite series finale of all time. And it's because of this finale that he still holds a grudge against NBC to this very day. What's worse is that a lot of the younger fans weren't really sure how to process this because they didn't know this was the finale. They tuned in next week to see some kind of big resolution where ALF either, I don't know, breaks out of the prison or makes friends with some of the FBI agents. But no, that didn't happen. There was no new episode, so to them, ALF was dead. But oh, they're just being silly little kids, right? They gotta learn how to process mature themes. This is how the show wanted to end it, so they gotta grow up. Except, no, that's not true at all. They had every reason to believe that there was gonna be a part 2. Same with the older fans. People like Rowdy C came back the next week and found that it wasn't the new episode that they were promised. Meaning either one of two things. 1, they missed it, or 2, there never was a part 2 at all. And yeah, like I said, this was how the show ended, so there was no part 2. Except you wouldn't know that if you watched the original broadcast because it had at the very bottom of the screen at the end, "To be continued." See, this isn't a trick of the eyes, this isn't some kind of editing thing. This is how it was when it originally aired. Consider Me Gone was supposed to be a part 1 of a 2-part finale. NBC explicitly promised the crew of ALF that no matter what happened, whether or not the show would be renewed for a 5th season, they would get one last episode to resolve the cliffhanger, except, uh-oh, they decided that they didn't want to do that anymore. Once Consider Me Gone aired, they decided that ALF was done and finished. But what are they gonna do about that "to be continued" at the end of Consider Me Gone? Obviously, they had to resolve it somehow, and guess what? They did, by removing the "to be continued" blurb from all future reruns. That's not really what the fans wanted, but it's what they got, so I guess NBC knows what's best, right? Years later, and I do mean years later, there was a revival movie meant to finish the cliffhanger that Consider Me Gone left the audience with called Project Alf, and it sucks. Yeah, the story concludes, but most of the main cast doesn't return. Alf is a secondary character in his own movie, and the overall writing style is basic and flat. Plus, it aired on ABC, not NBC, so a lot of people don't really consider this canon. Personally, though, whether it's between Project Alf or Consider Me Gone, I consider Project Alf canon because I do not like that ending in Consider Me Gone. But considering that this movie was on ABC and not NBC, it shows that no matter how much time has passed, even after all the angry letters and protests, NBC would not go back on their decision. Nope, they were right. Alf should have ended like this. So a lot of you who've been watching the channel will probably go, your criticism doesn't make any sense. Didn't you praise the dinosaurs finale changing nature for being dark and provocative? Absolutely, and I still will to this very day. But Alf's finale is no changing nature. Changing nature was dark on purpose. It had a dark ending that, yes, was somewhat scientifically accurate. I mean, I don't think they launched missiles into the sky to cause the Ice Age, but the dinosaurs are most certainly extinct. We all kinda knew this was coming. But it was also a story that set up a dark and thought-provoking tale. One that still managed to be funny on its own right, but also be a satisfying, albeit depressing end to a beloved show. Consider Me Gone, yes, has a bad ending, but it really just feels like a part 1. Clearly there's a bunch of setup for a part 2 that was supposed to happen. On its own, it feels incomplete. And if you consider this the canon end to Alf, then this just feels wrong. The Tanners don't get a happy ending, Alf doesn't get a happy ending. And again, going back to dinosaurs, yeah, they don't get a happy ending, but one, again, dinosaurs are gone, so what do you expect? But two, a lot of the dinosaurs brought this fate on themselves. It was because of BP Richfield and the people at the We Say So Corporation that Pangea got destroyed, and then Earl, of course, put in the final blow. It was a group effort to destroy the world, albeit not intentionally, but you still can't help but feel that they got the ending they deserved. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Sinclairs, Monica, or Roy were bad people. I'm just saying that the punishment fits the crime. What has Alf done in universe? I mean, on the set he was a nightmare, but in universe? He tried to eat cats. He was snarky. Yep. Execute him. He is not fit for this world. Why did NBC do this? Just to be jerks, pretty much. We never really got a solid reason, so all we can really assume is that it was out of spite. Is that a good reason to do this, though? No! Don't punish the fans for something that the crew did. And even then, it wasn't the crew, it was just one guy. If Fusco was this difficult to work with, if the episodes of Alf took this long to make, shouldn't you do something about Fusco and not do something to the audience? This is a little bit of a lesson for both sides. For the network, treat your shows well, because if you do, then your audience will be happy and you'll start getting all that sweet, sweet money. It's also good to keep your promises, because if you don't, you're gonna get a reputation. People won't want to work with you because they won't trust you. And if they don't trust you, then you're gonna be out of business in no time. Of course, NBC wasn't out of business, but still, I'm just saying. If this keeps happening over and over again, you're gonna hurt. But also still, what can you as a creator learn from this? Well, there's two aspects to this lesson. One, don't be a mess on set. Whether you're an animated show, live action show, whatever. If you're this much of a hassle, if you take this long to make your episodes, the network's gonna want to cut ties with you. And I don't know if this is really the reason why they canceled Alf and left it on a cliffhanger. I can't really be sure, but I'm sure it had some contributing factor. Even so, I still don't think that justifies them. I mean, come on, you couldn't have stuck it out for one more episode? But the second thing to learn is that you've always got to be prepared. Use that old Boy Scouts motto, you know? The network could one day decide, nah, we don't like you anymore. Time to kick you to the curb, and you gotta be ready. Otherwise, you're not just gonna suffer, but the fans will as well. They're either gonna get no ending at all, an ending that rubs them the wrong way, or a made-for-TV movie that comes 6 years after the show gets canceled and everyone hates. Some creators write their finale scripts way ahead of time just in case something like this happens. Honestly, this is probably a good practice. Yeah, show business is business. It's all about the money at the end of the day. But still, for those passionate creators out there that want to make people laugh or tell a story, it can be about the fans just as much, if not more, than it is about money. So please, for all you future creators out there, be prepared. If the network decides to go back on their word and basically lie to you, you've got to be ready. Don't trust them as far as you can throw them. Otherwise, you'll end up just like Alf. Well, folks, thanks for watching the video. What'd you guys think? Have you seen Alf before? And if you were around during that original broadcast of Consider Me Gone, what'd you think? Comment below and let us know, because we're always excited to hear what you guys have to say. Real quick, I'd like to thank our Patreon executive producers, Leaf Razor, Valkyria, Whoopdoo, Michaela Bellamy, MD the Dude, Blackjack, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare, Unkill, and Manny Paradas. If you too would like your name read at the end of every Media Mementos video, blah blah blah, there's a link to our Patreon in the description, so yeah, you already know how it goes, so let's skip it for now. Anyways, it's time for the comment of the day, and it goes to Ben the Looney. Yeah. That Ben the Looney, he actually watched the last Family Guy video, and he says, I like Family Guy now. Man, top 10 anime redemption arcs, am I right? Truth be told though, I was a huge fan of Ben the Looney back then. Ben rants, Ben salutes. Not as much Ben sings, but the rest of them I just loved, and in fact, he was one of the reasons I started reviewing in the first place. Granted, my first reviews were, what's the word for it? Terrible? Yeah, terrible. It only took 8 years for me to finally get it right. Hey, better late than never. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.